hello friends. Hello to our stranger friends. We got authors, we got aliens. Even got a chat room for our friends. We got Gab, we got Ghost, we got the hostess with the most, Renee. Take it away. What's the subject today? Take it away.
Well,
And,
we can't see everything. I mean, there's certain things that we're not supposed to see. I mean,
Exactly.
God's will, you can't manipulate with that. Karma, can't manipulate with that.
Right.
And that's the whole thing. And I actually had a reading tonight, and one of the things that came up with the reading was that, karmic debts have been cleared. Karma over.
Isn't
My
that a
karma
nice
with
feeling,
her
Heather?
in this lifetime is over. Her
Yeah.
contract is up. Contract up, she got to go. And, something he pointed out to me, and many other people in this field had pointed out to me, what if you would have known? What would you have done?
Oh, yeah, right? You would have tried
What would you
anything.
have done?
You would have tried anything
anything.
under the sun.
Right. And what if you would have pulled it off, and what if she would have wound up a vegetable? What if you would have pulled it off and you would have died, and she would have been left here to handle that kind of grief in her mental condition, which would have been hell for her. So
Right.
there's a lot of what ifs, and it's like, it's just was not for me. You can't manipulate karma or God's will. You
Yeah,
can't.
that's
And
the whole thing. And you can't be shown certain things. You just simply cannot be shown certain things, because if you're shown, like you said, either you try to manipulate it, or then you shut down yourself even prior.
yeah, there was no getting around it. I had to get to a position where I accepted this happened, it's real, and it was what's supposed to happen. It is what it was supposed to happen. And, the book came about because so many things were happening, just so intense that I had to put it in the form of a journey, because I made full circle, because, within just a few months, not only was I starting to recover very quickly from the grief, I was actually really getting these signs from her and developing this new relationship with her on the spirit, in the spirit world.
Mm-hmm.
And every tonight when I went and got my reading, the first thing he said was, "You have a female spirit with you." Well, of course I do.
She's always going to be.
That would be her. That would be her. So, she's always with me. So, it was just learning how to, get that grief aside. And I think that's the biggest message with the book, is that people don't realize, because a lot of people think that, if you lose someone you love, especially if it's a child, and my daughter was older. She was 29. She was almost 30. So, but I call her a child because she was still mentally a child. But, especially when you lose a child, you think that if you start laughing again, and you start feeling good again, that you're being disloyal to that child, that you owe it to that child. But grieving and being sad and being depressed is not necessarily showing how much you love that person. It's got nothing to do with it.
Right. It's the heart. That's the whole thing, is spiritually, we know that on the other side, how they're happy, that they're free of their pain, that they're vibrant, and maybe in ways that we've never seen them before, like you said with Stephanie, right? It's the physical world where the heart and that love that's buried in that heart, and it's there, it's so strong, that affects us more here in the physical world than it does spiritually. And that's the hard thing, is that spiritually, like you said, we know everything's fine, but in the physical world, we have that emotion that just it's there. It just tugs, it pulls, it's not going to go away. Do you know what I'm saying? And I don't care what anybody says, they can say that, whatever, it doesn't affect me and everything. No, it affects everybody. When you have love for somebody that is so strong, and that of a child or a parent, anything like that, it's going to affect you.
Oh, absolutely.
Because of that emotion.
But a lot of people think that if they stay stuck in their grief, they don't want to move on because they feel that it's disrespectful. And the truth of the matter is, where they go, they can't feel bad.
Right.
They can't feel bad. They feel great, and they do not want us to suffer.
Exactly.
Our loved ones are there, and they do not want us to suffer. They're not suffering anymore, because, of course, my big mantra was, she's not enjoying life anymore, why should I? Well, she's not in this life, but she's enjoying where she is much more than she did when she was here. She had a lot of limitations here, and she was going through a lot of pain. She had early onset Alzheimer's. Mm-hmm. And she was almost 30, and after 30, they said she was going to regress rapidly. And it had already started affecting not only her cognitive skills, but her walking. And she was getting to where she had to use a walker to get around, or sometimes if we went places that, were like she was going to be on her feet a long time, I'd have to get a wheelchair for her. Mm-hmm. So, she's not feeling those limitations anymore. She's not feeling that pain anymore. So she doesn't want me to be in pain. And, every spiritual person that I've been to has, confirmed that the more joy you feel and the happier you are and the more you have your light shining inside of you, the closer those spirits can get to you.
Yeah, and it's true. And I did a reading, and you talk about they want you to move on. I did a reading just before Christmas for a woman who's been grieving for 20 years. She stopped her life for 20 years for the death of her husband.
Oh,
and I said to her, he's right here, and he's not going to leave your side, but he is giving you the blessing to move on. That you need to work through this grieving process a little bit more, because actually, and she knows this, and she had heard it from somebody else, that there is somebody else waiting to come into her life.
Wow.
And she has held it off by her not being able to move forward, to move on in the process of the grieving. And so, I told her, he's right here. He's giving you his blessing. It's not in any way, shape, or form a disrespect for him. You're not disrespecting him. You're not disrespecting the marriage or anything. He wants you to be happy, and you're not happy. And he has picked somebody out for you who's going to come in and form a beautiful friendship with you. And if it's just a friendship, that's all that matters, really. But he wants you to be happy. So you need to really go through this. You have his blessing. It's right here. And, and it helped her along, even through different types of conversation that we had. And when I was able to tell her that he was relaying and giving special messages that they only shared between them, it was able to help her to start going through a little bit more. It was very emotional for both of us, because
it's difficult. It's a hard line to walk. It really is, because people think if I'm happy again, that I'm forgetting this person. Mm-hmm. And the truth of the matter is, when and I actually started taking mediumship classes so that I can better communicate with her myself. And the thing of it is that the higher we vibrate, and being in a joyful state, the more they can communicate with us, the more they can touch our lives, the more they can interact with us, because they can't come around us. The way it was explained to me was that they are not allowed, where they are not allowed to bring us negative emotions. So if every time they come around us we're hysterical and we're hurting, they're not going to come around.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really not being respectful to them. You're actually cutting yourself off from them by
Right.
feeling the negative emotions. And the
And
really, really
it's
ugly
true.
side of grief is anger. The really ugly side of grief is anger. And I went through as everyone, went through a horrible anger stage, and it was just, it wasn't nice. It was a very dark place to be. And being in that state, of course, she can't come anywhere near me. She can't be around those kind of negative emotions.
Right. Right. And it takes each person a different amount of time, too, to go through the grieving process.
It does, but it definitely, after death communication, getting signs from our loved ones on the other side, absolutely is the number one best way to work through grief.
Mm-hmm.
Because knowing that they're okay, knowing that there is an afterlife, knowing that we're going to be reunited with them, all of these things give us hope. All of these things console us. All of these things make us feel better. And then, by feeling better, consequently, you get more signs.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's true. It is true. And it's the simplest things. Kalila, I tell people all the time, it could be in a smell, a sudden smell. It could be in a touch, something moved. It could be a song that you hear on the radio suddenly. You're thinking of them, and a song comes on the radio that maybe was their favorite song. And
absolutely.
It comes in so many different ways that it's just amazing. But people have a hard time seeing that because they either get caught up in emotion or they get caught up in the everyday routine of life and let life in general interfere from seeing these signs, because everybody is given signs and signals and clues and messages from their loved ones and from the other side. They just aren't able to either slow it down, their own life, to be able to witness this, or to recognize it, or they're just caught up in the emotion. You know, and it's difficult, but when you can open up to that, it really is miraculous, and it is actually very much of a healing when you can open up to that.
Absolutely, and that's the point of the book. That is the main point of the book. Not so much, to go, hey, look what I did. It's really, hey, this healed me. This healed me. And, I'm not going to say that I'm 100% beyond this. I mean, it's not even been a year yet. And I mean, still, if I think about her too much, if I dwell on it, I cry over her all the time.
Right.
But I have to remind myself that, and sometimes I don't even have to remind myself. She reminds me. She'll pop in. She showed up right before Christmas time. I wasn't even asleep. I was awake. And when you're trying to get back to sleep, so you're laying there, you're not really sleeping, but your brain's on and your eyes are closed, and you're hoping you fall asleep soon. And she showed up, right in my third eye, and she's like, hey, Mom, okay, you know what? You can't go backwards.
Yeah.
There's no going backwards. And she's like, Christmas is coming up. You're going to be too busy to be depressed. You can't. You already know what you know, so you can't go backwards. And interestingly enough, my mother appeared with her. And it's like, okay, I'm not making this up. There she is.
They were ganging up on you.
Yeah, they were ganging up on me. And a few days later, I was still feeling a little depressed. It's the holidays. And I opened my bedroom door, and on the floor was a feather. It was a quill feather that was actually on one of my altars. And it poured it from another room to in front of my bedroom door.
Nice.
And again, it was kind of like, okay, she's letting me know she's here.
Mm-hmm.
She's letting me know very, very clearly and concisely, and in a very physical way, that she's here. So, but yeah, it is very healing. When I get these things, it's like, okay, I have to remind myself, I have to stay happy, or otherwise, I'm not going to get these signs.
Mm-hmm. Now you were talking about how she was gifted herself, and how you were saying that she walks, she walked like in both planes, and I have to wonder about that with all special needs children, because I feel that Maya does too. And Maya is very notorious. You're going to love this one. for pulling in stragglers.
Oh, yeah.
Maya will suddenly, all of a sudden, there's somebody new, and it's usually a child, will appear, and she's talking and playing. And her thing is, though, she will not release them until she's done playing with them or
Oh,
had her
my.
time with them. She's a little bully.
She holds them hostage. That's awesome.
But no, oh yeah, it's wonderful. Thank you. But she, but
I
the
love
thing
that
is,
kid. I really love that kid.
she's
So funny.
she's a challenge in my life. But she does. She will pull them in. She has one that she has yet to release, but the girl doesn't want to be released. She was an abduction, this girl, and then my daughter abducted her. And
Oh my!
but she's here. She's been here for 2.5 years now. You know, and they're like the best of buds, and cause mischief together. But you know, you have to wonder, because I almost think that she does too.
Well, I'm sure she does. And you see, that's just it, Renee. When Stephanie appeared to me in that vision that I had right before Christmas, you know, she specifically told me. She said, "Mom, you're a filmmaker." Mm-hmm. She goes, "It's nice you're doing a werewolf movie. That's fun and all." And she was also a part of that. But she goes, "You need to make a documentary. You mm-hmm. need to teach people. You need to show people that this is real." And she just looked at me. She said, "You need to take that Afterlife Mysteries and do it as a video. You need to make a video on that." She goes, "But more importantly, you need to make another video about these special needs kids." And she told me, she says, "I want you to call it Children of the Light." And she says, "You need to show the world that these kids are not handicapped, broken people. They're not." She says, "They're highly evolved souls that are here with a purpose, and they're here to teach people, and you've got to get that message across."
Oh, totally. I totally believe
you see,
that.
On the other side,
they vibrate on a very high level.
They're more than just special in the fact that they have limitations, because they have other talents in other areas that we don't have that are making up for them. The only reason these kids have these limitations is that what they're lacking, they don't need in this life. They don't need it.
Yeah, no. And
they're here to teach us. They're here to teach us. Now, we're not here to teach them. They're here to teach us.
Now, see, I don't know if you've ever really heard the full show before. This is Alan's favorite part, by the way.
Oh, wow.
The guest gets to introduce our next song, where everybody gets to chair dance or whatever they want to dance, however they want to dance. I don't want to know. But it's time where everybody gets to shake their booties.
Oh, nice.
Now, the guest is the one who has to tell them that it's time to do that. So it's usually like, "Okay, everybody, it's time to shake your booties," or any way you want to do it. So We're going to let you do that now.
All right. Well, it's time to shake your booties, people. And I tell you what, while you're shaking them, I'm sure Stephanie's going to be around shaking hers too, because that was one of the things that Stephanie loved to do more than anything was dance. She loved music. She loved dancing. So, consider this a message from the other side to get up and shake it down.
All right. Here we go.